Good evening. I'll call this meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Rutherford County Stormwater Advisory Committee. And if we would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Fultz, would you call the roll, please?
Yes.
Here. She's there online. Yeah.
Okay. Is your mic on, Phil? Mic has to be on. You need to speak into your mic so the people on Zoom can't hear us.
Sorry.
So make sure you turn your mics on and turn your mics off when you're done. And then y'all do the little button up and out, and then ours push button.
Do you want to start again?
Yeah, start again so they can hear.
Okay.
Sorry.
Delia Goodman,
Here.
Rick Cantrell, Chuck Clark, Bonnie Irvin, here, Will Hutchison,
Here.
Diane Patterson,
Here.
Josh Upham, and Marvin Whitworth.
Here.
All right. You have a quorum.
So we have a quorum. I'm going to read this statement about conducting the meeting electronically. This meeting of the Stormwater Advisory Committee is being conducted electronically pursuant to Governor Lee's Executive Order 16. I would ask for a motion that conducting this meeting electronically is necessary to protect health, public safety, and welfare in light of the coronavirus. Do we have such a motion?
I so move.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a motion that's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. Do we have to signal with hand raising, or is aye okay?
I think it
Okay. All right. All right. We have before us a copy of the minutes from our meeting last September 19th, 2019. Since they were emailed to us, do I hear a motion to accept or correct? Okay, we have a motion by Chuck Clark to approve, seconded by Marvin Whitworth. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Okay, we will have the election of officers. We'll turn that over to you.
Okay, I would like to open the floor for nominations for our new chairperson.
Nominate Delia Goodman.
Okay, I have a nomination from Marvin Whitworth for Delia Goodman.
I second that.
Okay, I have a second from Diane Patterson. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Yes.
Thank you all. Okay, we will now open the floor for nominations for vice chairman. Do I hear a nomination for vice chair? It is Chuck. You can.
I move that Chuck Clark be vice chair.
Is there a second to that motion? We have a second to the motion. All in favor of?
Aye.
Okay, Chuck, welcome back. That was Josh Upham that made that motion. All right. Now we have public hearing for MS4 annual report. Do we have anyone here to speak to the public hearing for MS4 annual report?
Say, I don't know if in the past y'all actually went through this or not at this point. But my recommendation would be that we do a brief highlight of the annual report, and then if anyone has any comments on that, you can comment at that point, or if you are online, you could put it in the chat that you have a comment.
That sounds good.
Is that okay? I don't know if everybody's even had time to look at it, because I know we're all kind of busy and it's been a little nuts lately. So I just thought we would take just a few moments to walk through that. I will be doing updates after this, so we'll go into updates after that. So I'm Sheila Huffmeyer. I'm the Rutherford County Assistant Engineer, and I work with the Stormwater program and all the other fun things that we do in the engineering department. So this has to be done every year, and we present it to you guys and to the public for the public hearing. And then we will mail it to TDEC by the end of this month, and it's a requirement as part of our MPDS permit for our Phase 2. So as you guys have probably know, since you're on the committee, you know a little bit about our permit and why we do our permit, and it's all, mandated by EPA through TDEC. This is what we do. And then every year we kind of say, hey, this is what we did. And we present what we did to TDEC and hope that they're okay with that. So a lot of it's just kind of normal questions they ask about your streams, your stream list, and these are all pretty much streams and things that TDEC has quantified as being such. So I have to go through that list and come up with those. Those are at the end, and then we can look at those if y'all would like. So the first thing we do, education. Our first BMP, we do is a lot of education and outreach. This year was a little tough, but we managed anyways. We like to do education. We do them to hot spots and pesticide users and things like that. You can look at our education and a lot of our things on our Stormwater Rutherford County website. We advertise things in our events and things such as the public meeting in the local newspaper. We use the Murfreesboro Post and on our website. Bonnie's going to talk later about our Project WET and how we did on that this year. But basically, I just take activities we did this year that had a measurable outcome, and I summarize those and put them into this section for TDEC. So it's just a summary of our outreach and then some summaries of our successful outcomes. So some of that education is general education, and then some of it is targeted. So targeted towards nutrient reduction, targeted towards habitat, targeted towards stream buffer enhancements and things like that help get those streams off of those 303D lists. We move from that into our illicit discharge detection program, part of the program. So we have to kind of keep up with outfalls and pipes around, and our summer interns go out and look at those every year. We did all that. They actually looked at 394 of them this year. And then you're supposed to come up with a plan of what you do if you find weird things coming out of pipes, or if people call in saying they saw something funky going on. We didn't get any of those calls this year, so we didn't do really any illicit discharge investigations. But we did do the stream walk-in, the VSAs, and the pipe outfall inspections with our summer apprentices. The next, we move into our construction site runoff control program. And we have a mechanism for that, and we have a program, and we review plans until we fall asleep on our table reviewing plans. I'm just kidding. But we do a lot of plans review. That's probably the main thing Mike and I do, is review plans all day long. And then we try to keep the contractors to, install the BMPs that they've put on their plans and make sure that they aren't contaminating sites or our waters of the state. We have lots of things in place for this. We hold pre-construction meetings. Let's see, we had about 105 sites that we inspected this permit cycle. We have an engineering inspector, and he goes out and on average, I think he inspects about 6 sites a day. And a lot of times you have other stuff going on, so a lot of times he inspects a lot more than 6 sites a day. That's on if you could average it on a normal week, which really doesn't ever happen for us. We consider all of our active sites to be priorities because we do have 303D listed streams, so it's just easier for us to say they're all hot spots and they all need pre-construction meetings, and that they are going to all be inspected by our inspector. This year we had 70 complaints that we tracked. It's actually kind of harder to track complaints than you would think, but we did. We had about 8 land disturbance, 31 drainage, 2 mud tracking, 8 construction, 1 dumping, and 20 other types of complaints that were called in. Mud tracking. Oh, I think our biggest one we put down here is people starting without a permit. That seems to be pretty common around here, and we're trying to prevent that moving forward. So we do have a regular, so this is post-construction, so permanent control is post-construction, so typically we think of those as all the detention ponds and things you see on the sites. So we have a mechanism that requires this as we move through site plan review. They call them SCMs, they're stormwater control measures, and we're supposed to make sure that those are also properly maintained. We require buffers, so if it's less than 1 square mile of a drainage area, we require a 30-foot buffer, and if it's more than that, we require a 60-foot buffer. We do have a little thing in our ordinance that says they can request a variance, but I'm pretty strict on not allowing variances. So if they have to have a buffer, they have to have their buffers. And that goes for like wetlands, not upland ponds, but ponds that are deemed waters of the state, streams, and things that you can categorize through that. And it's all in our buffer policy, which was created years ago. So let's see, how many development and redevelopment? We reviewed 49 subdivision and site plans. We had 26 pre-construction meetings and 98 final plats were recorded. That's quite a bit. Let's see. We only had a couple of complaints about would probably be ponds this year, of things not working properly or they needed to come and clean them out. We do track all of these things in-house. And we don't have a mitigation or payment plan, so where people could just say, I can't do it, I'm going to pay into this fund, and then you would have to take that fund and do projects out of it. So we don't have any mechanism like that right now. After that, we have stormwater management inspections, so we do go out and inspect different things. Our summer apprentices do that. Parking lots and maintenance shops, all of our solid waste facilities get inspected every year. We do have a training program. It's a little difficult to do, but I'm working on it. It's a work in progress, how about that? We work on training new employees. We work on training summer apprentices. Those are pretty easy to train. It's all the other employees that are difficult to do, and I'll explain why here in a minute. So then we go back and we review our programs and see what changes we need to make. From last year, you guys remember I came to you guys with an ordinance update. That was because we had an audit last summer, and they said you need to change it so that you can comply with your permit that TDEC gave us. So we made those couple of changes, and it was just wording for priority sites and just dealing with those sites. It wasn't anything major. And then we added the stream buffer signs. Let's see. So our area, like the city kept expanding with annexing, and Laverne keeps annexing, and Smyrna keeps annexing. So they all have their own MS4 permit. So our area is actually kind of shrinking. We have a lot of projects, but our square mile area is actually getting smaller because they keep annexing property. And so that puts them under somebody else's MS4 instead of ours. So it just asks you about that information. So in conclusion, our program struggles to keep up with all the requirements due to being understaffed. I'm not sure that anybody has ever came out and said that in the permit before, but that's where we stand. We actually tried to get a new position with the budget, and due to COVID, all budgets remained flat. So if you guys followed any of that, you know that they all pretty much remained. No new people, no help, so here we sit in the same position. Construction drawings, planning commission, plat review take up a tremendous amount of time and leave very little time for other permit requirements. Our online training program set in place doesn't seem to be working very well. I think I'm just going to keep working on it and trying to figure out a way to do it better. We set up online training for a lot of employees who don't have computers. So the process is a little bit more archaic about their supervisors have to print out the PowerPoints, and then they have to go over the PowerPoints, and then they have to take a quiz. So it puts a more burden on the supervisors because they don't have computers. And then we have to collect all that information back, and it's not as easy as it sounds. We did start using a new tracking program for we started using Survey 123. That's Esri Online that works with our GIS system. And so we can upload all of the reports immediately. We can export them, download them, and have them. I can email them to, say, a violator, and they can see what we see on that day, what was actually in the field. So that is actually working really well. We took our enforcement response plan and we put it into a Versivo diagram, and that's just something we're doing to convert to our digital tracking system that planning and engineering has been working on for a while. And it's just very archaic and difficult, to say the least. I don't even know how to explain it, but it starts with mailing certified letters. And if you know anything about that, it can take up to 30 days to get a certified letter in the mail if you aren't at home or you refuse it. So it can be 40 days from the time I mail it, and then they have 10 days to respond with it. If you guys worked on the original ordinance, you know there was a 10-day response on that, on the enforcement response plan. So it's 40 days by the time I mail that they could actually have to do anything. Well, after 40 days has passed, where does that leave us? It leaves us out of compliance for 40 days. We've been using a lot of stop work orders, and we've been using a lot of shutdowns, and we've been using a lot of shutdown builders. And we've been working closely with codes so that I don't have to do so much of the letter tracking. We just go straight to the source, shut down their site, shut down their building sites, and say, get your stuff cleaned up, call me when you get it cleaned up, and we'll activate your site immediately. That seems to be working better than the enforcement of letters and more letters and more letters and meetings. So it's just taking a little bit different approach to it. But it does say in there we can do stop work orders. I'm not doing something that's not in the enforcement response plan. Anyway, so our summer apprentices were great this year. They started about, was it, Phyllis, a week or 2 weeks late due to COVID? They got a late start. We only had 3, but man, they cranked out the work and they did a great job. They did all the pond inspections, they did the site inspections, they worked really hard for me. They went out and did a lot of even door hangers, which we've never done before. So we got hundreds of door hangers out just for education, because I knew education was going to be really hard this year. And they inspected the ponds, and so part of what we did in the past, we didn't always have a deliverable for what we were doing. We were just doing and inspecting, and then it goes into a computer system. And so my goal for the summer was to have actual deliverables at the end of that. And so we did that. We had inspections, reports, and violation letters that went out with what they were working on, and then with the collection of all that data. So our education has been effective. It's been great, but we did struggle. We did have to cancel a lot of our events from fall to spring. I know you guys probably, Earth Day on the Square was canceled, and then a lot of the ones that Josh works with us a lot on, a lot of projects, all of our invasive plant removal, everything we usually do was pretty much canceled, where we interact with actual people. So it was kind of sad, but I mean, we're coming up with new ways to do things, so. And that's about it. Bonnie's going to go over just some extra stuff about the Project Wet later. So these are just our penalty or things we gave out. So if you guys didn't have time, that's kind of just a brief summary through it.
Thanks very much. Are there any, we're still in the public hearing, are there any questions or comments? So seeing none, I'll say that the public hearing portion of this meeting is now closed. Okay, the next item on the agenda is an update on stormwater activities.
Bonnie's going to do this part, but I'm going to do her slides.
Okay.
Test your mic, Bonnie. We can't hear you. Are you muted? You're muted. Unmute you. RCTV, can you unmute Bonnie? You don't know how? She doesn't know how to unmute.
I do know.
Great.
There we go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your help. Okay. So you want to start the slide? So, my report for 2019, 2020, we're going to have a combination. And once we get it started, there we go. Okay, so just to review everyone, schools went on spring break and they said, and Rutherford County said, stay home. And the schools stayed home and the children stayed home. And then on April 15th, all Tennessee schools were closed for the remainder of the year. That meant I couldn't go out and visit schools. Okay, so continue, please. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this better. If it's recorded, you might be able to go back and look. But for the quarters, I guess, last year comparing, I was able to talk with teachers 115 hours. This year, I've actually talked with no teachers directly. So what I did on the second part of that slide is I was talking about what I've done so far, and a lot of it is professional development training for me. I've learned some Zoom. I took some Zoom training and learned about how to create and utilize a Google Classroom. And that was in preparation for Waterfest. We knew that our outdoor field trip would not be. We kept hoping, but no. So it's going to be virtual, and I've scrambled and to find platforms in order to post videos and materials from our facilitators for the students and the teachers. And started with Google Classroom and found out it won't sync with the school districts. They have such close control, as they should, over what goes in and goes out. So if teachers have a personal Google account, they will be able to go into this, it's called a classroom, and pick what they would like. Otherwise, I'm going to be sending them an Excel spreadsheet with all of the links and everything. So I'm actually having to duplicate my efforts. That's okay. Okay, and so that's what all of this is. I go to TEA conference rooms once a month, and it is a discussion with environmental educators from around Middle Tennessee. I come away with great resources and ideas every time. It's been great. Okay, next one, please. Okay, so last year we had a total of 2,580 participants that I was able to go and visit with. And that's not so this year. So far, I mean, I can't go into the classrooms, but I had Salem Elementary contact me back in February saying that they wanted to do some water testing on their own, on their ponds at the school for Water Monitoring Day, which is this week. And so last week I prepared the materials for them, and they're going to run the tests, and we're counting it. So there were 72 students in the classrooms. They chose not to provide materials to the students out of the classrooms at this time. And hopefully in the future, we can do more for the students that are out of the classroom. Next one, please. Okay, another one of my jobs is to train teachers in the Project WEC curriculum. So we have a 6-hour workshop, and by the time they're finished, they go home with the curriculum guide, and they go home with a lot of materials. Well, again, meeting in person is not the thing we're doing right now, but my collaborator at MTSU, Dr. Catherine Mangione, she is having her students complete the online WET training, and excuse me, the Tennessee coordinator supplies the books to me, and then I will be giving it to them. And I still have other materials to share with them, as if they had come to an in-person meeting workshop with me. Okay, next one. These are all the materials we give out. I have a lot of swag, and I also have a lot of really great educational material. So what we gave out last year, the total was 2,851 individual items. And I've already, because Salem Elementary has participated in an activity, I sent materials with them as well. So we've given out 218 pieces of materials, and that the Discover the Waters of Tennessee brochure is one that was published by Project WET. It was created at MTSU and is all about the waters of Tennessee. Next one. Oops, did it skip twice? Can you? Yeah, thank you. Okay, no. All right, I just am missing one. All right, go to the last one. That'll be fine. There we are. Okay, so the Waterfest always contributes a lot of students. Like last year, we had 2,700. We won't have that this year. I'm going to request of the teachers that if they use any of the materials, that they please sign in with me and let me know how many students and what grade and their name and their school. And that's all we kept last year, so that would be fine this year. Right now, I have 20 plus activities loaded into this classroom and the spreadsheet, and I've got many more to add. So the teachers will be able to go into the document, grab the link, and take it into their classroom management and use it for the students at home and in their classroom. As soon as I finish this huge amount of information dissemination, I will start publishing a letter or a blog or something to the schools about the type of activities I can do with them on Zoom. The schools do allow Zoom to come into the classroom, and I'm guessing the students at home, if they have the computers, they would also be able to join. And I will also let them know that all the materials I have in my office that are used to run the activities, that they will be able to borrow them. And hopefully I can create enough materials for the kids at home to have some as well. So we're working as hard as we can, doing the best we can, and it's not nearly as much fun. Thank you.
Okay, so this was just my agenda with some notes on it of a couple of things I wanted to show you guys. We're just going to look at a couple of web viewers. Oh, I should have already brought these up, but I didn't. Okay, so these are not... So we had a study done by Dr. Ogden on Shores Road, and he looked at some of sinkholes and things that are out there. And so I was just going to show you guys a few of the dye traces. Josh has actually put them into the stormwater. Josh, if I'm doing this wrong, feel free to chime in. Oh, there they go. He's actually put them into the layers. So this is the city's GIS website. And so what Dr. Ogden went out and put dye into these sinkholes to see where they were coming out. And so this can kind of help us as we review plans to see, so if you look at it above ground, it may look like it drains to Stewart Creek or it drains to Overall Creek. But if it's actually going into a sinkhole, how do you tell which watershed that project is draining to? And what restrictions or what BMP should they be using on that site? So that was one thing that we learned from this. So you can see these are where they put them in, and then there's different showing where the dye tracing goes. So the red's where they go in, the blue's where they found them. Josh, did you actually go out with any of these, or this was him and Brandon and Jonathan? Did Jonathan do these with him?
I think so. I may have joined them for maybe
Briefly. So actually one of our summer interns, I think, went out with Dr. Ogden when they were doing a bunch of this, and he was very knowledgeable. We had a great summer of learning, and they had done this before he started a summer intern. So as you can see, he put in, he got permission, went in and put in either like wells or sinkholes. Were they sinkholes or wells, both? I think he hit both, didn't he?
mainly sinkholes.
Mainly sinkholes.
It's usually a spring, along the stream.
Yeah, so this is actually Stewart's Creek, right? Let's see, what's this one up here, Josh?
Yeah, that's, so to the west or left of the spring would be kind of the Stewart Creek watershed.
This area.
And then
Can you see my?
on the
Oh, yeah.
map, a lot of the traces on the right side of the screen go over to the Overall Creek watershed. So it's kind of a clear divide there between two watersheds that maybe if you looked at on the surface drainage, you may not be able to tell it as easily while it's draining the subsurface.
Excuse me for just a minute. So would you review again which color is where you put it in and which color is where you've tracked it?
Yes, and I wasn't too involved with this project, but it's, yeah, the red dots typically, they
These.
represent where a environmentally friendly dye is put in the ground.
Okay.
There's usually a sinkhole, maybe a section of stream that sinks underground. That happens pretty commonly around here. And then blue is where that dye is detected. Normally, by the time you detect it, you can't see it. So you have to send off the detectors to the lab that can look for concentrations of the dye at very, very minute levels. So it helps us map out the underground waterways.
Interesting that some of those, when you put it in at multiple sites and it came out to the same place.
Yes, and even though the lines are straight, they typically, if you can imagine, the creek as it runs through bedrock and limestone, kind of zigzags, that's probably what it's doing underground. So those aren't necessarily the exact path. It helps us understand the streams and springs a lot better.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is one of the projects Dr. Ogden was working on, and part of it was just to kind of understand where that underground water was going, and then those sinkholes also fill up with water when we get a lot of rain. They take on, but they also fill up, so if you've come to any of the planning commission meetings or any of that, Mike talks about this a lot, and the water comes up out of them, and then that's why we end up with a lot of the flooding, because the sinkholes are full, especially when all the groundwater, that underground aquifer fills up with water. There's nowhere for those sinkholes to drain out. So it just can help us if we ever needed to track contaminants too. So if Josh found something over here at Military Spring or somewhere, and we're like, okay, how do we track this for our illicit discharge program? Josh might call me and say, hey man, it's coming from something out in the county. We've tracked it back to that with our dye tracing, and it's actually so-and-so on such and such site. We've tracked it over there. Now we can go figure out what's causing that contaminant or what's causing the problem. So it can help us with our source tracking too, if we were to find something going on weird Military Spring, it might be kind of hard because there's a lot that drains to that. But sometimes you can just look up on what that contaminant could be. So it helps us both, and that's why Josh does a really good job of keeping up with all of this information on his dye tracing website. So I just thought that was a really cool thing to show you guys. Do y'all have any questions about that? Okay. Next thing I'm going to show you guys is we've got, TDEC's got some pretty cool maps and map viewers, and we use this guy all the time. And it shows all the streams and how healthy they are or how unhealthy they are or what's going on with them. So this is just a TDEC data viewer. Think of this, blue's good, red not so much. So you can look and see kind of how some of the streams are. And let me turn off these other sites because it's a little crowded. These are all TDEC monitoring sites, so all the construction site programs are on there. All the construction that's been permitted through TDEC is on there. So if I turn those off, you'll see a lot of those go away. Oh no, that's TDEC's monitoring site. Hang on, let me do this the other way. So that's all the construction sites that TDEC has. Boom. Like that's how much construction's actively going on in our county. And I have it zoomed in. That's not the whole county. So I could zoom out a little bit so you guys can see that. You think it's really, you can kind of see, I don't know how well y'all can see, but here's the county line. Kind of this black border is our county line. Let me pull it over just a little bit. Okay. So it really gets you a little bit better view of, wow, we really do have a lot of construction going on. And we do have a lot of projects that we keep up with. The city of Murfreesboro tracks their projects that are in the city limits, and then we track everything outside of that, and then everything outside of Smyrna and Laverne city limits. So that's how we end up with hundreds and hundreds of sites that we are tracking and monitoring. So all the little droplets is where TDEC does monitoring. So they go in and monitor all of these streams, and they do monitoring on those to kind of see, are we going to get it off the 303 list? Is this stream getting better, or is this stream getting worse? And they do a range of testing to figure that out. And we're required to do some testing for this. So that's why I thought you guys might like to see the map to understand what I'm talking about when we go over this, just a tiny bit of this. We have sampling that a contract with Dr. Bailey at MTSU. Due to COVID, they were a little bit slower getting all the results out to us, so we don't have them yet. But we did sample some of our impaired streams, which are the ones in red that don't fully support what they're supposed to. You can see a lot of red out towards Eagleville, out this way. And then this is Lytle Creek. Lytle Creek's kind of always, I don't know how long it's been red, but it's from all the way out in the county to the city. So Josh and I are kind of working together to do monitoring on that site. We're going to work in the future on setting up our sites and kind of not sample on top of each other, but sample in different locations and be able to share that data. So Dr. Bailey is going to do a contract for us. Well, he's actually got the contract. And then, so next year I'll be able to submit reporting data back to TDEC as part of our annual report. So that'll come in next year's annual report. And so when you get that, you'll be like, oh, that's what she was talking about. He does bug sampling. So they'll do a squish bug test. So they'll shake up the ground and they kick it up, and then all the bugs go into a net. And then they'll take those bugs and they'll send them off to the lab and say, is this a healthy stream or is it not, based on the bug and the bug count? That's a very generic version. Josh is probably over there laughing at me. That's a very generic version of what they do. It's a lot more technical than that. But you have to be like a professional biologist, like it's a whole legit thing. But by that, we can tell, they're called indicator and indicator bugs, and they can tell us whether or not that stream is healthy or whether it's sad and, not doing so well. And we also did a bunch of source tracking and bacteria tracking. So we're looking for E. coli. A lot of our streams out in the county are listed for E. coli. And on this the viewer, like you can zoom into them and you can click on them and you can say, what are these, what's wrong with Kelly Creek? And this is, anybody can go look at this. So if you guys are interested, you can go right out there and Google Division of Water Resources, data viewer, public data viewer, and you can research to your little heart's content, or you cannot. But it tells you kind of what's going on with it, what's wrong with it, and why. So it can tell you what it's an E. coli situation, and you've got grazing and repairing areas, and some of it's probably from cattle. Actually, also down Kelly Creek, we've got a big sod farm down there. There's a lot of things that can cause this. So they've actually done testing, and they can tell you what's wrong with the stream and why, and what the parameters are for it. So you can click on those and say more grazing, more grazing. So a lot of our issues are from cattle and cattle grazing. So it's really interesting that we have a lot of ag people on this committee. I don't know if this has ever been presented to you guys, but it's kind of hard. Like, our program is based on municipal runoff, not agricultural runoff. And so we don't have a lot of control over any agricultural runoff with our program. Our program is really just for municipal, so urban runoff. Now, you can click on some of these and it'll specifically tell you. We can go straight up to Lytle Creek, and there's sections of Lytle Creek, and its impairment is from municipal, highly urbanized, dense area, and that's from a municipal cause, is what the cause for that site, right? And so as we go through these, we can look and tell what's kind of going on in that area. It's really hard for us to really get streams off of lists when we don't have any control over that. We don't control agriculture. We don't control the BMPs they use. We don't. This program is not focused on agriculture. And now, that doesn't mean that I shouldn't do better at reaching out to some of you guys and work with our ag people about getting BMPs installed and working with farmers or whatever. It doesn't mean I can't do that or shouldn't do that. I just haven't had time to do that in the year that I've been here, because a lot of other MS boards actually reach out and do that. But one cool thing we had happen this year is we got 15 miles of Concord Creek off the listed list. So Concord is now blue instead of red, and it was 15 miles of red. I don't remember what the impairment was on it. I have it in other paperwork. But that's pretty exciting to get 15 miles of a stream off of a 303D list. So I figured that out when I looked at, we get a new list every year from TDEC, and they update this map. So I went to look at the map and compare it to last year to this year, and I was like, wow, we just got 15 miles off of a 303D list. This is huge. And TDEC didn't call, nobody called, there was no parade, but I was pretty excited about it, because this is kind of a big deal. This is our whole goal, is getting these streams off this list. So for all of our people on the committee that are ag and that would like to work on or do anything, I'm open. It's not my forte, but I will absolutely be happy to work with anybody at looking at these streams or any of it. So if you guys have questions, feel free, you can ask about any of that. But so I just wanted to show y'all briefly that you guys can go in and look at this stuff, and a lot, we have about, I think, 14 segments that are listed for urban and municipal, and the rest, I think we had 26 total listed streams, and only about 14 of them are listed for urban. The rest are listed for cattle grazing, and issues that aren't focused around MS4 or municipal issues. The other day, we're still hosting Zoom meetings, as you guys all well know. All of our pre-con, pre-apps are all still going through Zoom, and we're still working hard on our erosion control review to try to help minimize silt and sediment in the stream, which is still our #1 pollutant. Do y'all have any questions about any of that? Or did I go way too fast, or you're just ready?
That was interesting, thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions? All right, the next item on the agenda is new business. Do we have any new business?
Oh yeah, hang on, let me get it up. Minutes agenda. Where is that? Bylaws. Okay, so in the bylaws, I was reading through the bylaws today because I was trying to prepare for tonight's meeting, and it says that the terms appointed to members shall be 2 years. So I think that you guys might want to think about that and reword these bylaws if you guys want to serve more than 2 years, because I think it's going to be excruciatingly hard to find people every 2 years to serve 8 full positions. You can easily reword it to say the term shall be appointed for 2 years with, say, 3 consecutive terms max. So that would be 6 years. So people could stay on it for 6 years, and then at that point, you would have people coming and rolling off. I just wanted to point out that we're not following the bylaws. I think people are just staying on until we just keep begging people to do it, and we're grateful that you guys are willing to come and do it. But you can change it, kind of whatever you guys would look at, but that's my recommendation. You can actually do it, re-up for 4 terms, 2 terms, 3 terms, but you take that times your number of years, and that gets your total term limits, total number of years that each would serve. And sometimes people do it because they tend to get burnt out because they're like, well, nobody wants to do this. And so you force the turnover to force other people to interact and be involved. And I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I just wanted to bring this to your attention. That's what I get for reading, right?
Any thoughts on that? Are you wanting to say something, Chuck? Okay.
Please.
Well,
Please. It's okay.
that is an interesting point that you've brought up.
Just because we're on this. I really want to hear your feedback. I really want to hear. I should be on this. Okay. I really want to hear your guys' feedback. I really want you to feel open, and you're also more than welcome to come and talk to me after the meeting. I'd like to have a good relationship with all of you guys. I've finally been here a year. I feel like we can maybe move forward with, like, as a group. And if you guys are interested in doing more than 1 meeting a year, if there's anything you want to work on, please feel free. Don't feel like you can't comment. So I would love to throw that out there.
I mean to sound too stupid, but I have no clue how long I've been on. Does somebody have?
Is your mic on?
Supposed to be on. Am I? Is it? Does somebody have a record of when each of us came on? It's her fault. I think this is my 3rd meeting. Yeah.
I'm either 2 or 3. Yeah. I can't remember.
Well, I guess we made up our own bylaws, but I don't remember them, so should probably read over them again.
So you have representatives from different groups. I've got that on the screen. And you guys, I don't know, maybe you know which one you represent. Maybe don't. I was trying to figure that out today. It's pretty simple. They're very simple bylaws. That's just the only thing I saw. I was like, 2 years. Oh, man, that's going to be hard to do. And I started panicking a little bit. I was like, there's no way I can, kind of rally around and find enough people to be like, yeah, let's do it. And so just any advice or help. I think it would be a lot easier to just amend the bylaws personally and give everyone the opportunity to do 2 years with terms. So however many terms y'all feel comfortable with. And it would be an easy change to the bylaws.
So
and then if you want out after, like, say, I only want to do 2 terms, you just can let the mayor know and say, hey, I respectfully would like to be taken off this committee. I've served 4 years, and I just really can't serve anymore. I feel like I've done my due diligence or whatever. It's okay.
Sheila,
Yeah.
can you hear me? Okay, do the bylaws also say how to amend them?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Let's see.
Do we all have a copy of the bylaws, or do just I have a copy? We all have them? Okay.
Like, I don't know.
Well, do we have any thoughts about amending the bylaws?
It just says that the bylaws shall be amended at regular or special meetings, but no amendment shall be adopted unless at least 5 days notice has been given to all members. A favorable vote of a majority of the entire membership shall be required to effect a change in these bylaws.
Where are you? What part?
The very last paragraph. That's what it says.
I see, under Article 5 amendments. Regular or special meetings, okay. 5 days
So
notice.
if you do a special meeting, and I'm going to sound dumb here, does it have to be a public meeting if it's a special meeting? Or is it just a public meeting tonight because I'm presenting the annual report?
Well, it doesn't really say, does it? It doesn't.
And it would be
Do you
nice
know,
to
Mark?
add electronic voting.
Yeah.
Ma'am?
I said it would be nice to add electronic notification and voting to that.
Yes, it would, especially this year.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what is the feeling of the committee about amending the bylaws? Bill?
I think at this one meeting per year rate, I'm fine with extending it more than 2 years myself.
I'm sorry, Will, I couldn't hear quite what you said. It was on.
I think I have it on. There, I think I hear it
Talk
now.
a little louder, yeah.
At the once a year meeting rate, I'm pretty good with extending it more than 2 years. At that rate, I think actually Marvin and I have served our time and we're set to go somewhere else.
And I am in agreement with that also, what Will said. We only meet once a year, so I am in compliance with, longer term.
So am I hearing that you're feeling then as you'd like to amend these bylaws to include a phrase that would allow for multiple terms served, is it consecutively?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So
I do
we
think
can't
we'll
do
have to
that
have a
We can't do that
special.
tonight.
Not
We'll
a
have to
5 day.
have another meeting.
Just one thought. We also need to make sure that if we say, let's say 3 terms, most of us in this room may be kicked off at the same time. So
Oh.
we need to make sure that it's staggered to where we have equal number going off every 2 years.
Good
Yeah.
point.
That's
And
what I usually do with all the boards I deal with.
I don't know how long I've been on, but I've been on since the start because the law that established this required that a member of the Soil Conservation District Board be on the committee, and I was it. I'm Soil Conservation.
Do you think there's other people that would be willing to serve that's on that board?
Well, we got 2 right here.
Okay, so y'all are, okay. Oh, then this is bad because you're all 3 here at the same time.
Well,
That's the concern is, where are you in 4 years and 6 years?
There are only
so-
5 of us
Okay.
on the board. So,
Right, but he's serving, so you could serve under a different capacity. You could serve for a civic or you could serve for something else. You just can't, you wouldn't serve under that capacity, so.
I don't think there's any prohibition against that. Multiple people serving from the same organization.
Right.
But I know I'd be done if we don't, there probably needs to be some staggering is what.
I agree, yeah.
Could we go back through the minutes and find out when people came on? And if we did 4 consecutive terms and then just went by how the amount of time people had been on, the ones who'd been here the longest would roll off 2 years from the amendment to the bylaws, and then the others would follow along, or they could always request to come off. But that way it would be staggered. If you had 4 years, that would be 2 per time.
So is there a feeling then or a thought that we should work on some wording and have a special meeting, since we only meet once a year, have a special meeting to approve or disapprove the new addition to the bylaws, to that amendment, to make an amendment? and then allow that to be taken or conducted electronically. Now, do we have to publish, how do you do that?
It just says in the bylaws that before a special meeting or before a and then we have to give 5 days notice.
Okay.
We can send out a notice, a meeting notice with the proposed changes in
Okay.
instead of that, we would have to set it in.
So I'm open to hearing some sort of motion about this process.
I move that we make an amendment to the bylaws stating that advisors will be appointed to a 4-term, 2 years per term. Is that what you were getting at?
We cannot vote today, but
Okay.
we can, I guess, propose the wording, don't you, that we will vote on. Is that, can we do that? Propose the wording so that we can all think about it, and then we will have a special meeting, not wait till next year, but have a special meeting and vote. Now, do you all want to have a meeting in person or just electronically? A meeting in person? Okay, a meeting in person. Wait till we can meet in person? Okay. So that may be next spring, is that okay? Okay. Whenever things, right, when the mask mandates and all of that have been removed, then we will plan to have a special meeting, and that will be our agenda. And
Well, this meeting is, like, we can only do this virtually because of the executive order. And so those orders, I think they were typically only good for a month. And so at the end of each month, the governor would have to re-up them so that we would be allowed to have virtual meetings. So if at the end of this month he doesn't re-up it, you can't have virtual meetings. So that was what all my emails were about to begin with, because we didn't know it. We were having to send out the public notice, but we didn't know if the governor was going to extend the mandate. So we aren't allowed to have virtual public meetings unless there's the executive order that goes with it. So that literally could be next month, or like you said, it could be spring. But I know this is really confusing. I had to have Doug really explain it to me. I'm like, what? What do you mean by, okay. So Doug and the RCTC TV people kind of explained it to me like it comes out whenever that mandate comes. So at the end of the month, you'll know whether or not we can have virtual public meetings next month, or whether we've been said, and if it's not a public meeting, then I guess that falls under, the mayor has said that he would prefer that we try to do distance meetings. So I guess it just depends whether or not it's an official public meeting or not. But all committee meetings, I think they are asking us to do that. But that was kind of based on that. I know it's really confusing.
well,
So we don't really, it could be soon or it could be not soon. But that's okay.
is it safe to say maybe next spring all of this will be smoothed out? Do you want to wait till then, or do you want to go ahead and do it as quickly as possible?
Do we not need to be working on the wording now for the next meeting? It won't effectively take place until next September anyway, will it?
Right.
So anytime between now and September, we ought to be able to have this special meeting to vote on what we want to do. So my understanding of what Will is wanting to say is if he's trying to propose the wording for what we want to say in the meeting next whenever.
I just thought y'all were looking.
I was.
I thought you were looking for somebody to propose something.
I was.
We can do whatever you want to do.
So, Marvin, what are you suggesting, that we have Okay, the special meeting then will address the wording and possibly go ahead and vote on the wording. Is that what you're saying?
But it has to be a notification of 5 days, is that
Right.
right? But does Sheila need to know what our thinking is on what the term limits are going to be? So you need to know if we want to have it 15 consecutive terms or 3 consecutive terms or 4 consecutive terms. So that was my understanding of what you wanted. It was some guidance to her to come up with a bylaw
Next
change.
spring, is that better for you if we meet like this fall? For your purposes?
Sure, it doesn't, I'm good with whatever. Yeah.
Better for you if we meet sooner rather than later?
I think so.
Okay.
So we don't forget about it.
That was a good point. Okay, so it seems like where we are is we have a pretty clear idea of what we're going to be doing at our special meeting. And we're just not clear about when that might be, but we're going to try and do it sooner rather than later. Maybe, and we should then keep I guess the chairman would call the special meeting. Is that it's not really addressed that I see. Is that the way it works? So maybe we can just keep in communication with each other. Would that be all right with you all? So
Yeah.
5 days notice. So we'll wait for the governor's mandate on meetings, public meetings, to be lifted. And then we will try and meet. We'll give 5 days notice, try and meet. Trying also to avoid holiday seasons.
And what kind of wording are you guys looking at? What's the feel? 2-year.
Well, right here
Term.
it says 2 years. So if we stuck with that and then just added some more clarification to that, isn't that what you were saying might be easy?
Yeah, what do y'all think? What do you think is a reasonable time to serve, I guess is the question. 4 years? No. What?
I don't know what all county committees have as terms, and I don't know if they all get to write their own bylaws, but other committees that I've served on have been 5-year terms. And that's kind of long, and there's no limit as to how many times you can re-up, which is also very long. So I wouldn't mind a term limit.
So some of them, I know the Agricultural Advisory Committee, it's a 2-year term with a limit of 3 consecutive terms. Then you have to rotate off for at least a year, and then you can come back on. That's the Agricultural Advisory Committee. What? And they have trouble getting people to do it. That also has a requirement for certain, I think it's supposed to be 2 farm women. Is that right? Is that still in effect? No. Okay, old-fashioned.
I'm not real sure what the requirements are. I think it is 2 farm women, 2 county commissioners, or a number of county commissioners. I'm not sure how many, and then others.
Yeah. Well, if it's all right with the committee, then this is what our plan will be. We will pay attention to the governor's mandate on public meetings. We'll pay attention to when that's lifted. And at that point, you can check your emails, and the 5 days notice goes to who? You take care of that, right? Okay. So we'll give you all a week or 2 of notice.
Oh, yeah.
Give the committee 2 weeks' notice about the meeting, and then we will communicate by email like we did before for this meeting, and we'll try and find a good time hopefully pretty soon. And then we will we will amend our bylaws. Or not amend them, as we see fit at that meeting. Is that all right? Okay. Is there any other new business? Okay, I declare the meeting adjourned.